when seeing these companies just buying Bitcoin relentlessly, I just see a lot of FOMO because Bitcoin is showing such resilience after the tariffs and all. I just get some chills when I think about what's going to happen when these companies like really see the conditions of crypto bear markets.
This material is for informational purposes only and is not intended to provide accounting, legal, or tax advice, or investment recommendations, or an official statement of Presto or its affiliates.
Hello. This is the Presto Research Podcast, again, with Peter and Min. What's up, guys?
Hey, man. How are you?
Hello.
Hey, what's going on? So we got this week a banger IPO, which is Circle. People were underestimating it. When I first heard that it will be IPOing at $31, everyone was like, oh, this is so overpriced. Nobody will buy it. It'll be like such like a Binance listing. It'll be the death of Circle. And then this happened. It's shot up to almost like $140, like a little less than $140. Now it's trading around $105. And yeah, to me, it seems like there are a lot of institutions or people with a lot of money who want to bet on crypto, but in a more legitimate way, I guess. And I think this also put Tether on the table in terms of their valuation, which the founder said, I think some guy just speculated it will be around $500 billion valuation. And the founder was like, oh, he was pretty humble about it. I think he wasn't really impressed with $500 billion. So, yeah, I would first like to ask Peter, what would be the implications between like Circle going public and Tether staying private? How does this play between their competition in the stablecoin market?
I think, maybe starting with Tether. I don't think Tether will go public anytime soon, to be honest, because they're hugely profitable. They have lots of cash. They don't really have much to gain from going public, in my view. I think there was a media report recently, like a couple of days ago, that their first quarter profit is like $16 billion or something like that. And that's only first quarter, by the way. And that's only with 100 plus people, right? So annually they are doing like $4 billion. If you apply Circle's current public market valuation to Tether's annualized net profit, you get a few $100 billion worth of valuation. And that's why I think Tether's CEO was not too shy about talking about big numbers. On top of that, and this is just a stablecoin operation, right? But on top of that, Tether's been doing something that's very similar to MicroStrategy, which is using their net profit. They've been adding to their Bitcoin, the stockpile. So, if you consider Tether as a hybrid between stablecoin operator and the Bitcoin treasury company, you can very quickly get very crazy kind of valuation for Tether. So I think that's how some people come up with these numbers. Whether you want to take these numbers at face value or not, it's all up to you. You can all make up your own mind about that. But I think given all that, the hype on the stablecoin market, it's not necessarily unjustified hype in my view, because the stablecoin is the killer app of a blockchain technology. And Tether is the number one player in that market. Plus, another thing that's going for Tether versus Circle is they're not spending like a crazy amount of money trying to distribute their coins like Circle is doing. So Circle's spending 60% of their revenue on their distribution partners, like most of it on Coinbase, but also a few others as well. So Coinbase is a partnership account for about 50% of their revenue. It's a lot of money that Circle has to spend in order to maintain their number 2 position. Whereas Tether, I think mainly because of their first mover advantage, they're not spending as much on distribution. So that's another thing going for Tether. Now, I think some people are looking at this thin margin for Circle and kind of making a glass is half full kind of argument rather than half empty, and saying that, okay, so if Circle can address their thin margin, the problem of a thin margin, by partnering up with another company or potentially even doing an M&A with another company, they may be able to improve their margin and don't have to spend or don't have to rely on Coinbase so much for their distribution. And that could lead to maybe to improve the profitability and the re-rating for the stock. So those people that are making that bet, I think, are the ones who thinks that the Circle's current like 100 times P valuation is somewhat justified.
Do you think Circle can catch up with Tether because they have like these political backings, like they are based in America and all that? Do you think these factors play into future prospects between the competition?
It could, I think. It could. So for the Tether's growth comes from two sources. One is degen traders, the Web3, DeFi traders. Another one is the genuine demand for US dollars from the emerging markets. Circle, on the other hand, it's mostly the former, i.e. the degen trading demand. And I don't think they have a little bit of exposure in the emerging market, but not as much as Tether. So I think for Circle to close gap with the Tether, one thing they can do is, if the stablecoin bill passes and that stablecoin bill somehow positions Circle in a more favorable light, for instance, by saying that if the tech companies wants to partner up or distribute stablecoins, for instance, it'll have to be somebody who is based on the US. I think they may have some clause like that in the stablecoin bill. If they come out with that, then there was a report recently that all the big techs like Meta or Twitter, Airbnb, these companies were looking into incorporating stablecoins into their operation. So for them, if the stablecoin bill passes that favors local player, then Circle can potentially benefit from it. But it's all still very fluid, so I cannot say for sure. But that's one potential pathway for Circle to kind of close the gap with a Tether, I think.
I mean, I kind of agree with what Peter said. And also one important thing to notice is that currently all these stable coins are used as an exchange tool, right? As an exchanges and stuff. So I think it was like about 80% of the stable coin usage was actually happening on the exchanges, which means major will be like Binance, OKX. And if you think what kind of pair most people use it's going to be on Tether, right? So I think as the stablecoin roles can get diverse and actually becomes more payment, I think there is more for Circle to grow, especially because it's more regulated. And I don't think for example, it's like Stripe or PayPal. I mean, they have PYUSD, but if they have to use other stablecoin, then it's going to be USDC, not USDT.
Yeah. Yeah. So also remember, I think this tech company, if you're looking at from tech companies' perspective, they might think that the real value lies with the distribution, not so much the business of issuing the coins, which is actually, I have to say, rather simple, right? It's all they have to do is take the deposit, put it into T-bills, and then don't do anything, right? Just redeem it when the redemption request comes in. So it's a very simple operation. The profit they make is from interest income, right? Which can fluctuate, by the way. So right now, I mean, in recent years, Circle benefited because the short-term rate has gone up. But what if it comes down, like during the COVID years, it was almost 0%, in which case Circle is not going to be able to make that much money. So, the real value is probably with the distribution rather than the issuance. And if that's the case, tech companies might think, well, let's just do it ourselves. They can always go to somebody like a Paxos and get their white label solution from a Paxos, which is something that they're good at, right? It's not a done deal, basically. I mean, the Circle has to work very hard to secure a distribution partner, but the distribution partner may not necessarily think that they need Circle, right? So it's a kind of tricky situation for Circle as well.
So I think that's something that you have to think when you're actually investing in Circle. I think there are just two things, like two variables that you have to think. One's, of course, the stable market cap and USDC, how much market share they'll take. And the other one is the Coinbase partnership, right? if you have a view on the Coinbase partnership, whether they could actually reduce some margin or whatever, then I think that's actually the part where it could vary. And to me, like I think Peter said, I think it will be very hard for Circle to give up Coinbase, especially because I think in a world where most of these stablecoin demands are coming from exchanges, I think exchanges have the power hegemony rather than the issuer. So
I also think that integration into the DeFi ecosystem matters a lot too. That's why when I heard Peter saying that the distribution matters a lot, I thought of Plasma, the recent sale, the stablecoin chain. So let's say if interest rates go very low and Tether cannot make money out of their bills, T-bills, then when that happens, they can still create revenue off of their own network in terms of transaction fees. So yeah, I just it's just a random thought that popped into my mind, and of course, I think we would obviously need centralized exchange integrations, which USDC kind of lacks against Tether. So yeah, Circle was it was a pretty hyped event. I think a lot of people are still crying because, well, nobody's buying my coins, but they're buying Circle stocks. I think I'm not sure if anyone in this podcast has bought any Circle stocks. Have you guys bought any?
I haven't. I actually, yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
no, I don't know. Like thinking right now, I don't know why I was sidelined. I mean, obviously, like Tether is not going public. So Circle is basically the leader in this space, and there are really not lots of competition on the regulated stablecoin space. And stablecoin is one of the hot topics, and it's like the best business model. So, I mean, thinking today, I don't know why I'm not like I was sidelined, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean, these things are always easy in hindsight, right? Well, I should have done that, would have done that. I actually got a call from a friend of mine who is in private banking a day before their IPO, asking me for an opinion, and I told him about the thin margin, and maybe market's not gonna like it. I think he hasn't called me since then, so I don't know if he ended up participating in the IPO or not. But maybe he's not gonna call me anymore.
Yeah, I think we have like another big IPO type of sale coming up soon, which is the Pump.Fun ICO type of deal, a public sale. I'm not sure if that will play out the same, but definitely as they are one of the biggest revenue generators in the industry, seeing what happened to Circle, I think that would generate a lot of attention too. So I think we should go to our next topic, which is the digital asset treasury companies. Is it a bubble? So this is just the summary I generated out of Perplexity. It's not the complete summary of the companies that are buying Bitcoin. I just asked it to give me a list of the last from the last 6 months of companies that were buying Bitcoin, and this is not even the full list, and that's a lot. And we have been talking about this for several episodes, but even this morning I saw GameStop buying like a few thousand Bitcoin, and it doesn't seem like this it kind of worries me because they're basically just buying things that could even go down. And we're just like really vibing here because we're almost at ATH levels, but there are concerns if this bubble will pop. So what's your opinion on this phenomenon, Peter?
Yeah, actually, I try to do the same with ChatGPT. Actually, I tried to do it with Grok, but the list was so long and it was not even very accurate, actually. So I just kind of dismissed it after a few attempts. But I think MicroStrategy success obviously is inspiration for many. And I think my guess is it always looks easy in hindsight, right? The stock went up 100 times over the last 4 or 5 years, and all they did was issue issue bonds or equity to buy Bitcoin, and a lot of people probably think that how hard that can be, and there's a rush of all these companies trying to do the same thing. And my reaction to all this is that companies are free to try whatever they can to increase the shareholder value, and especially given that if you look at all the listed companies on major exchanges, whether it's US or Korea or Hong Kong, there's never a shortage of zombie companies listed on exchanges. It's very similar to crypto as well. You go to Binance and many of the coins are zombie ghost coins, right? Similarly in equity market as well. So there are many companies that are just kind of listed there and doing nothing. And for these companies, they might think that the buying Bitcoin by issuing, more equities is a very kind of easy solution to their stagnation. So I think all these people are, if they have the right connections, are being approached by all these crypto people, and then maybe play along with that. Having said that, I think the key thing here is, I think equity issuance is not as much of a risk. But if you start issuing bonds, you had to be a little bit more careful how you set your terms, because that's a liability. And bond is basically borrowing money from the public market. There's a maturity. So you're going to be called to pay back at the maturity of the bonds. And so therefore, you have to have an ability to manage the capital structure of your company well, and be able to navigate the ups and downs of the bond market. Otherwise, you may be forced to liquidate your digital asset holdings, whether it's a Bitcoin or Ethereum or what have you. So do everyone that's been rushing to do this strategy have that kind of capability? I'm not sure. I haven't looked at all of them, but I'm sure some of them, maybe at least half of them, are not very capable people. So in which case it could pose a risk to the market. But also, having said that, let me just look at it this way. But this is no different from retail investors piling onto the Bitcoins or Ethereum, right? Even individual investors, some of them are very rich, right? High net worth individuals, and they can invest, $5 million, $10 million very easily into these assets. And we don't know their financial situations, right? Some of them may be going through a divorce. Some of them, I don't know, like have health issues. And, because of all these unpredictable events in their lives, they may have to be forced to sell their asset at some point. So in my view, the potential liquidation risk posed by these listed public companies is not that much different from some large retail whales, holding on to those Bitcoins. And therefore, we shouldn't maybe be too scared about the risks.
Just when you said it's just like retail people holding on Bitcoin, these companies are doing the same. It just reminded me of the hyperliquid whale James Wynn that recently has done like $100 million of liquidations. And when seeing these companies just buying Bitcoin relentlessly, I just see a lot of FOMO. I just see that, because Bitcoin is showing such resilience after the tariffs and all during Q1, I think everyone is just sold to the idea even more. And I think maybe in board meetings in these companies, everyone just, there's just one Bitcoiner guy convincing the whole crowd and showing these statistics about how MicroStrategy is doing so well. And, we could be like one of the first runner groups of this new, gold rush, digital gold rush. It's also kind of reminds me of when back in 2021, every company wanted to create their own metaverse and they issued like NFTs. It's almost like the same thing to me, but they're just buying Bitcoin. So I think buying Bitcoin is a bit better than, trying to create your metaverse. But still, I just get some chills when I think about what's going to happen when these companies really see the dark and deep conditions of crypto bear markets.
And
Yeah.
it's not just Bitcoin, right? It's moving on to Ethereum, Ripple. And actually, I think 2 days ago, I actually saw this company called Oblong. I think ticker was like OBLG. They're actually buying BitTensor. So they
Oh,
raised
really?
Oh my
they raised
God.
7.5 million to buy Tau. Actually it was pretty interesting because they said like they're actually buying Tau and also investing on BitTensor infrastructure. And they will also participate on the subnet zero, which is basically staking. And I think this could be interesting if the companies are buying cryptos for treasury reasons, but also for strategic reasons, right? If they could actually create like a subnet on BitTensor and do something or whatever, then I think it would actually be interesting for crypto world.
Yeah, I see on Twitter that, these treasury companies, it's just buying Bitcoins. It's just like, the reason why people would buy Bitcoin is, I mean, these companies would buy Bitcoin is because they think other people would buy their stock because they buy Bitcoin, right? But this is just buying Bitcoin with extra steps. So like, it seems like this whole thing will just gonna fade, or maybe like you said, if people start creating like their own apps, like trying to make their assets more active, then I think that kind of changes the game too.
And also, I think there's a segment of institutions that cannot buy the underlying asset directly. I mean, they can obviously go to ETFs and so on, but there's some additional benefit that these type of vehicles offer that ETF don't, and that is, for instance, if they issue convertible bonds, the fixed income institutional investors with a fixed income mandate cannot buy ETF because ETF is like stocks, right? But they can buy convertible bonds because it's fixed income instruments. So it's a way to tap into a segment of the institutional investors that you cannot otherwise tap into with the ETF. So it's kind of opening up a new channel for these digital assets, and I think that's one thing that these instruments are doing.
Yeah, and it's actually a good thing for us too, because we've been waiting for people to actually learn, and we were convinced that the whole point of this podcast is letting people know what's going on and making this industry bigger. So yeah, it's good news overall. And speaking of good news, we got a new presidente in Korea. He's seemingly pro crypto. Like, I'm not gonna lie, if I wanted to vote, I didn't vote, but if I wanted to vote, I could have voted for this guy because like everyone didn't have any crypto policies at all. So recently we have a lot of new policy trying to be integrated into the Korean society. For example, spot ETFs, the Korean won stable coin, and I think I've read some other more policies I can't just think out of my head right now. But this guy the new president is very pro crypto. The Democratic Party, which was not very crypto historically, has now turned like full on pro crypto, because like the voter base in Korea is like there like 10 million people who has ever bought crypto in Korea. So there's a lot of debate around if we will benefit from a Korean stablecoin. And I think, Peter, you mentioned before briefly that this could supercharge the Korean economy at this stage. So yeah, would you like to give your opinion on the Korean stablecoin or like any policy that these guys are proposing?
Yeah. But I want just to maybe correct a few things there. The Democratic Party was not anti-crypto before. They were, I think all parties were relatively, at every election cycle, they were saying something positive about crypto, like starting from last cycle in year 2000. When was the last one? 22, I think. Yeah. 22 election. Both parties were saying good things to win votes. And in fact, I would even argue that, because the last election, Lee Jae-myung, he ran as well, although he lost. And he was saying a lot more smart things about crypto even back then than his opponent, Yoon Suk-yeol, who's now impeached and stepping down. And then, so on this election, I think every candidate again were saying some good things about what they're gonna do with the crypto. I've always kind of been skeptical because my experience with the Korean politicians is that it usually ended up being lip service and then don't do much. But I think this time around, there are a few reasons to believe that maybe something more meaningful will happen. For instance, the globally that there's been a shift towards more pro-crypto policy, especially in the US. So the environment is better. And secondly, I think this government is very keen on trying new things and reignite the animal spirit in the economy. And crypto, they seem very open-minded and willing to try new things. So maybe that's a good thing. And I think if they do it right in the right way, I think it can supercharge the economy. But I'm not sure if they will do it in the right way. That's the part that I'm not 100% sure because, as I've explained before, doing it in the right way involves not just, putting together some new laws or anything like that. It requires kind of a rewiring the entire setup for the Korean economy, including the financial system, which remains very closed system compared to other OECD countries, for instance. So I'm not sure if they are willing to go that far. It's something that will take time as well. So maybe they won't be able to do it within the next 5 years. Maybe it'll something, but you needed more consensus. If there's enough public consensus on wanting to change the existing very closed financial system, then I think it can continue. But I'm not sure if everybody agrees on that. I mean, just in my recent trip in Korea, I've been talking to some people, and whenever I talk about this, I don't seem to be able to get that many, I guess, buy-ins from the people that I speak to. So we'll have to wait and see whether.
What are you saying that people are not agreeing with you?
I mean, the main thing is too much government intervention in the financial industry, and therefore they need to kind of deregulate financial industry in general, starting from FX regulations. But it's like most people don't think that's a good idea.
Yeah, because like people like me and people like the Bank of Korea, these people, they're pretty close-minded. They think like capital control should be a must to like protect the economy. But at this point, I just gave up. I'm like, okay, do whatever you guys like. Let's see what happens. Like if we break, we break. Let's just like go full throttle and like I mean, there's no choice for Korea, to be honest. Like we should like try things. So I was initially pretty bearish on a KRW stablecoin, but recently we had I read this newsletter from Kaiko saying in 2025 by far the KRW is the second largest fiat currency traded in crypto markets. So I was like, okay, we should leverage this. But the reason I was like pretty not sold to the idea was because the people who were proposing this idea were like, oh, we should use K-pop and like culture to attract people to use KRW stablecoins. I was like, what? So yeah, I think it should be more like a crypto first approach where we aim for actual demand, like where the immediate demand actually comes from, instead of like saying these fancy words and saying like we should sell tteokbokki and KRW stable coins, right?
I mean, one thing that this was just a rumor, but I heard it from a friend who works in TradFi, and he told me that the reason why Democrats want KRW stablecoin is not for like cross-border payments but it's for their basic income campaign policy.
Universal income.
Yeah. And I was thinking like, oh, then it's going to be like Korean world coin, not Korean stable coin, right? So I thought that was pretty interesting, but let's see how it goes.
So would that mean they're going after a more CBDC type of approach for the stable coin?
I think if that's the case, like it should be CBDC style, right? So I don't know if they actually really care about those, what Peter's always say, like frictionless cross-border payments or stuff. I think it could be more for their to get to their like campaign promises, other campaign
Yeah.
promises.
Recently, Four Pillars and Hashed Open Research, they've been doing a lot of these like stablecoin seminars, and I see that they're approaching with a more capital market centric stablecoin issuance policy, and I think that is what Min Byung-duk is trying to propose in his recent legislation. I was not able to read it because it was not available online yet. But yeah, I think the guys who are actually proposing it have like some solid ideas on how to like not do the CBDC, and but it's I also read the Bank of Korea, and like some people are gathering to see if discuss this thing this morning. I just read the news, so we don't know how this exactly will roll out. But if it were to happen as Min heard from his friends, I don't know, man. Yeah, just back to just put the fries in the bags. We're done here, I guess.
I guess Amin has a lot of friends on the right, on the conservative party camp, right? I think that's why they're. I think yeah, I mean, who knows? I mean, the Koreans love. I don't think it's actually a Democratic Party thing. It's the Koreans like to ask for handouts from the government, whether you are from the right or left. It's kind of in their psychic. We've lived under nanny state for too long, so I think people are so used to the idea of a government doing something for them. So I don't think it's a partisan thing, to be honest. They might have done the same thing under the opposition party ruling, the control. Apart from the stable coin, there's something else that came out yesterday. The Min Byung-duk, he proposed the Digital Asset Basic Act, right? So in it, yeah, stable coin is a big kind of part, but there's other stuff in there that's very interesting. One of which is setting up a digital asset council under the president's office. Now, this is just a proposal. This bill is a proposal, so it has to go through National Assembly, which will take time. So it's not a done deal, and it may have to go through some revisions before it becomes an official act. But if everything gets done according to what's proposed, that means we're going to have somebody like a David Sachs in the Blue House, right? So I wonder who that person is going to be.
Yeah,
maybe, yeah. So that could be interesting,
Peter,
to watch. I'll be no, I'm not. I have too many skeletons in the closet. I'll never be able to qualify.
Yeah,
but yeah, I think it'll be interesting. I think.
Also in that bill, I read a summary on the news. It was like they also said companies can issue their own coins, and also leverage trading in Korean exchanges. So is that bad?
Yeah, leverage trading. Oh, really? Yeah. Was it mentioned in the act? I didn't see that one.
Maybe it was not mentioned in the act, but I think I read it somewhere else on a separate news.
Okay.
Yeah. So the appetite, the betting appetite, gambling appetite might come back home. And the government can, like get more tax revenue from there. And if we implement Korean won stable coins into Korean exchanges, and also let foreigners to come trade in Korean exchanges in Korean won, and convert that demand into a broader digital ecosystem of Korean won denominated stuff, then I see why not. But as Peter mentioned, I think there are a lot of hurdles. I think there are a lot of things to tackle first. So we'll have to see how all this pro-crypto Korean government rolls out. And I mean, I'm not complaining.
Did you say that you didn't vote this time?
No, because I don't know if I can say this, but I think they all just suck. But to be honest, like if I would had to vote, I was like, whoa, maybe I should vote for Lee Jae-myung because his policies are the most like aligned to what I want. So yeah, but I didn't vote.
Yeah, I see. How about you, Min? Did you vote?
Yeah, I vote.
Okay.
You know who I
He's not saying he's gonna vote.
vote.
Yeah, he can't say. I know who you voted for. Yeah. Anyways, it was a good talk, guys. I guess next week we'll come back with some more bullish Korean news, and thank you for tuning in.
All right. Thanks, guys.